What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Just picked up my Jackson Knarr FD from my dealer, and I'm going to walk you guys through the process of how I rig my boat. Right, so I've already done the basics. Basically, you have to assemble the kayak after it comes from the dealer. So I installed the drive already, got the seat set up, put in the rod stagers over here. I got my flag on in the back. I got my rudder installed. But yeah, piece by piece, I'm going to start rigging this boat out, and I'm going to take you guys along for the ride. Right, so the first change I'm going to make has to do with the seating position. Now the Jackson Knarr, it comes with a high-low seating position, and I pretty much always want my seat in the high. I can't really think of any reason why I'd ever want it in that low position. So what I like to do is I put it in the up position, but the problem with that is that the seat is a little bit loose, especially sometimes if you really start pedaling pretty hard in the kayak, the seat can sort of move on you. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a cam strap and I'm going to wrap it around this little section and I'm going to cut off the excess. So yeah, you just put that thing in place and bippity boppity boo. So yeah, there you go. It's all in place. And now this thing ain't going nowhere. That's officially the first modification that I've made to my new kayak. All right, continuing on with some simple modifications. I'm going to install a power pole micro anchor back here. And yeah, the kayak is power pole ready. So you just have to unscrew these little screws in there and then put the mounting plate on there for the anchor. So yeah, once again, bippity boppity boo. All right, got that plate in there just like that. Not ready to put the actual unit in there right now, so we'll save that for later. Okay, just got the little motor unit for that power pole micro anchor on here. Yeah, I've got the wireless model, or the wireless battery anyways. Got the control panel right here. Drilled a couple holes in this control panel to make well, there were original holes here, but they weren't big enough for these T-bolts, so drill them out a little bit bigger. And yeah, I can loosen that up and I can slide this up and down my track wherever I really want it. What's cool about the tri-track on these Knarrs is, you know, if I wanted to, I could put it on the side or on the inside of the kayak right there. For now, I'm just going to leave it right there pretty close to my seat, and I might end up moving it somewhere later. But yeah, you want to anchor down. That's the anchor down button, and you hear the motor going. Of course, there'll be the spike in there that will actually stake into the lake bed, and that's what keeps you in place. So I'll turn that off for now. And very useful when you're fishing shallow water and maybe tight quarters if there's a bunch of brush, trees around you, and you sort of need to anchor in place and fish for largemouth bass and stuff like that. So I don't really use it a whole lot, but when I do, I'm really glad I have it. So yeah, we'll keep plugging away at this kayak, and we're starting to make some headway on this thing. So this one's going to require a little bit of explaining. I'm attaching a voltmeter and a USB charger to my kayak, and I'm planning on mounting that to my, I guess you could call it a captain's bridge, but really it's just an extra piece of tri-track that I'm mounting across the front of my Knarr FD here. So my plan is to take this, attach it to this box that I 3D printed, and this is going to mount basically right on this tri-track, just like so, with some, you know, wing nuts and bolts going through this guy right here. I've got a hole in the bottom of this thing, and that's where the wires are going to run. The wires are going to attach right there. Then I'm planning on running it through the tri-track, going through this top rod holder right here. And then on the other end, I've got my plug-in for the Yak Power switching system. So yeah, that's the plan. This is how I've got the wiring set up on this. So I got the voltmeter and the USB port wired together with both the red and the black wires. So all I have to do is strip those off, connect it to those guys right there. I'm planning on stripping those, putting them together with some wire nuts that I have right there, pushing them back into the box just like you would with an outlet that you would on your house. And then this piece here will mount right on the front, just like so, after I screw it in. So that's the plan. And one thing that I didn't do this on the last kayak. Last time I actually ran my wires through here, and then it came out just at the end and went down into the kayak. I'm gonna try avoiding that for now. this tri-track already has a slit in it, so I can go all the way through and then go through this top rod holder. And in that case, I just have to drill a hole inside the kayak itself into that top rod tube. And I'm going to be doing that anyways because I'm going to run other electronic wires out of here that are going to go to a fish finder eventually. So yeah, it's not quite as clean as my last setup, but it just saves me from drilling an extra hole into the body of the kayak itself. The only problem is this wire here will be exposed, but I don't know. I don't think that that's such a big deal, so I think I'm just going to do that for now. Right, as you can see, I got these wired up now, so just got to push everything into the box and screw it down. All right, so I got the plate screwed on now. The wires are going through the tri-track, as you can see there. And now just for a proof of concept, I'm just going to attach this straight to the battery and make sure we got power. Okay, so we got that attached. Come back here and there we go. Reading 14.3 volts. And I've got my USB ports right there. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to attach that to the Yak Power switching system so I can turn it off and on as needed. I will give you guys a little update here in a little bit when that thing is all bolted down. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is install the transducer. I'm going to use this transducer scupper hole right here. And first thing you got to do in order to accomplish this is to go underneath the kayak and remove the transducer cover. So I'm going to go ahead and do that a second. Okay, got that transducer cover removed there. So my next plan is to take this piece that I designed and 3D printed, and basically I got a big bolt here running through this piece, and this is going to connect to my transducer right here. So the holes are in line with the transducer, and that's where I will screw this little plate in. And once I do that, screw that together, we'll go in underneath, plug it through that transducer hole right there. And when it gets to the other side, I've got a little top plate right here, again that I 3D printed, that will go over top like so, and then we'll use that little mighty nut right there to tighten it down. After that, I can put the cover back on if I want. Some people say that removing this cover and leaving it off will improve like the side scan and the sonar and stuff like that. I don't really know. That was sort of the whole point of this design, to keep it up against the hole and not needing this cover. But I think I'm going to experiment with a little bit. I think I'm going to install everything and then put the cover on anyways. I really don't use this transducer all that much. Actually, I'm going to be running two graphs, one with a live scope, and this one's mostly going to be used for charts and stuff like that. So I'm not going to use the side scan much anyways. But in case I ever do want to upgrade to a unit that's got better side scan capabilities, then I definitely am going to consider removing that cover and testing it out. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy installed and show you guys the results here in a second. Okay, I've got the transducer wire going through the hole there, and I've got my 3D mount attached to the transducer itself. So gonna pull this guy on through and throw the cap on and tighten it down. All right, there you have it. Seems to be fitting like a glove. Show you guys what it looks like underneath here. And yeah, as you can see, that transducer is pretty nice and tight up against the hole there. So yeah, I'll put that cover back on, and eventually I'm going to be running the wires through this top rod holder right here, and I'll drill it through the top of the rod tube and attach it to the battery inside the hull of the kayak itself. So I'm going to save that for a different day. But yeah, let's finish this this install off by just attaching that cover. Okay, so the next thing I did was I drilled this little hole through the top of this rod tube right here. And like I said earlier, that's where I'm going to be running some wires. The transducer cord right there. we will start feeding that through. Okay, see it right there. Come back. Hey, there we go. Got that transducer cable pulled on through. So I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to wrap this cord all up into just a circle, and then I'll probably bungee and attach it to these rod tubes here. And yeah, I've got some other cords that I'm going to be running through this hole as well, including the Yak Power cord for my USB port and voltmeter right there. So yeah, it's next thing. We'll finish feeding these wires through. Okay, so now I got the Yak Power to the USB and voltmeter coming through that hole too. Also, sort of had a little bit of a brain fart, but I forgot that this actually has to connect to the fish finder, which will be up here. So I ended up having to feed that end back through that hole right there, but that's fine because this is actually where I wanted to hide the wires. So that hole was necessary for me to get these all these wires into the hole of the kayak, as well as getting the Yak Power cable to go through here as well. So no accidental holes, at least not yet. So yeah, all this is going to be tied off neatly. I'll get this all sort of like that, and I'll probably zip tie it all together and attach it to the rod tube over here on the side so it's out of the way. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now. All right, the rigging journey continues. Just got back from Shields and got a whole bunch of stuff to finish rigging the kayak today. First thing I did was I got a whole bunch of these Yak Gear Track hardware, and basically I needed the bolts and these twist knobs on there to finish attaching my USB port and voltmeter to the piece of tri-track. So I had this piece of tri-track left over from an old boat. I cut it down in order to sort of do a captain's bridge deal in front of the flex drive here, but I didn't have any way to attach it yet. So again, those Yak nuts and bolts were a good way to drill through the track completely. And then I took a longer bolt that I got from a company called PowerTech. I believe that's a 2.5 inch bolt if I remember correctly, and yeah, those fit with these Yak knobs really well. So that's just plugged into here, drilled a hole through the kayak, or through the tri-track rather, and connected that on there. So yeah, that thing is nice and firm. That's not going anywhere. Also, since I cut down this piece of tri-track to actually fit the captain's bridge on there. So I cut this down with a Sawzall, and then just took this end cap and just finished hammering that into place too. So that's all set up for now. I think the next thing I'm going to do is start getting my Yak Power switching system all set up. I got the wireless Bluetooth 5-circuit system, so I'm going to start getting that installed. We'll start running some wires through the front of the boat inside the hole, and I'll probably start getting one of my fish finders installed today too. So that's what's on the agenda. Okay, so I sort of have a rough in set up for my Yak Power switching system. Of course, I don't have it attached or anything, but got everything out in the open so you can see how this is going to work. Got my amped battery there, which is powering my switching system, and I currently ran 2 circuits over to power my fish finder here and down to my USB port and the voltmeter. Now the control panel is actually Bluetooth wireless, so I've got that right here. Eventually, I don't know exactly where I'm going to mount it yet, but somewhere on the tri-track, either inside or maybe on the top. But either way, everything is all set up. So all you gotta do, hit power, turns the unit on, you hit power again, and that allows you to select the different circuits here. If I hit 1, try that again, I hit 1, you hear it go off, and that's going to send power to my voltmeter and to my USB port right there. I hit number 2, so now I've got power to my fish finder here, and hit power, and that guy turns on. So yeah, that's pretty much the setup so far, just the rough in like I said. I'll start moving all that stuff inside the hole, and we'll start setting up the other circuits. Other things that I'm planning on doing, setting up some lights, 4 different Yak Power button lights, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, got the Yak Power control panel mounted there. And yeah, the next thing that I've been doing is adding some handles to the side of the Kayak. So they'll just plug into the side of the tri-track here. This handle itself is just a cheap $10 Ozark Trail brand handle. So we'll see if this holds up. I really only use this to lift one side of the Kayak in order to put in a wheel of a landing gear, which I have yet to install on the back. But yeah, I did this same handle on my other Kayak right over there, and those have been holding up just fine. So I don't expect there to be any issues. The one thing I am concerned about is they apparently added this little strap here, and that goes right through this meshing right here, and I'm wondering if that might weaken it a little bit. So hopefully that's going to hold up. Once again, I just attached it with these Yak Attack nut and bolt combo that I got out of the hardware kit from Shield. So I just got this side installed and gonna do the other one now. Okay, so here's the next thing that I'm thinking. I got some Yak Power button lights. These are the white ones, and I've got some blue ones here that I have left over from an old purchase that I made. So what I'm thinking of doing is, and I sort of did this on my last Kayak too, was I 3D printed this mount for the button light to avoid drilling any holes into the Kayak itself. So what I'm thinking of doing is I will mount this on the tri-track like so. Then I'm thinking I'm going to run the wire either inside of the tri-track itself. Since they're hollow, I can drill a hole and I can run it through there. But before I start drilling holes, I'm going to do sort of a rough mount where I actually just take the wires and then just run it through this groove right here, going all the way up front. And I'm going to do the same thing with this light here. These white ones will be up front and they'll be facing backwards. And then I'll run them just out through the end into the hole right here where I've got my other wires running, then once again into the hole of the Kayak and connecting to the Yak Power system. So what's the point of these lights? Well, the first one is so that you can see the blue ones. They work well at night. You turn them on and you can see your rigging and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot of night fishing for walleye this year, and one trouble I had was, getting decent footage of the catches, since my light was always going that way when I wanted light pointing back at the seat, which would show the fish off better. So I was doing stuff like taking the headlamp off and sitting it somewhere near the front of the Kayak to shine back at myself. So I was thinking, hey, what if I just installed some white lights on the tri-track like so, and I can even adjust the angle on it a little bit. But I'll mount these here, and then whenever I get, some fish at night, I can just flip these on, and that should shine some light on the fish so that, I can get a better picture, better video of those catches. So yeah, that's the plan for now. Gonna mount this right there. Once again, I'm gonna use some Yak Attack hardware to just tri-track mount it for now. And yeah, that's the next step. Okay, so I got the button lights track mounted, as you can see. Blue one right there facing the front, and the white one there. I am running the wires currently just right here, right inside this groove of the tri-track. Same with this guy here. The wires coming out, they pop out here out the front, going through the top rod tube along with all these other wires going down here into this jumbled mess. That's where I'm going to be holding the battery, and I've got my Yak Power switching system there. So you can see what happens. Turn my Yak Power system on, catch a big fish at night, and I light up the bow just like so I can get a good picture, a good video of that fish. Otherwise, I can put on the mid, and then I'll get the blue lights. And usually when I'm fishing and at night and I want to see what's going on in my Kayak a little bit, I'll run these blue lights and yeah, then eventually you catch the fish. We'll turn on the bow and get some good footage. So that's the plan, and I'm sticking with it for now. Eventually, might do more permanent mounting with those lights, but for now, it's sort of a good rough in, if you will, experiment on where I want to actually put those lights in the end. So yeah, we'll stick with that and see how that works out. As you can see, it is very scary in here. We hit on the mid, and that's our blue for our night fishing. And then say we catch a fish, and we turn on the brights. So yeah, that's the plan. And I got my valve there controlling the voltmeter. One is the fish finder now. And then the S is going to be my other fish finder, which is right there, that I have not rigged up yet. But okay, I just finished assembling my black pack. And what I'm going to do for that is attach it to this piece of tri-track right here. So I 3D printed a couple of L brackets that I screwed into the black pack right there. And yeah, this black pack is just going to mount straight to that tri-track. Just got to go get some nuts out of the tool chest to finish attaching that right there. But yeah, I wanted to also push it back a little further because eventually I'm going to attach another little tackle crate, little multi-box right there. I actually did that on my other kayak too, so I'll take you over here and show you basically what's going to look like when it's done. As you can see, I did the same thing, have the L brackets there, and then the attachments for this Jackson Kayak multi-box, and that's just plugs in to the black pack like so. Sorry, hard to do it with one hand. So get that plugged back. So I got that plugged back in there, and yeah, that's, you kind of need it. You need a little bit of extra room back there in order to fit this Boondocks landing gear, which again, I'm going to be installing one of these on the new kayak, just like I did on this one. When I get to that, I'll show you guys how I install that too. But yeah, that's sort of the plan. Gonna finish attaching that guy, work on getting that Jackson Kayak multi-box. I have the landing gear coming in a few days, and then I'll install that next. Okay, well, as you can see, this looks kind of ridiculous, actually. Anyways, I got the new 12-inch Garmin up next to my 7-inch Lowrance, and there's quite a bit of a size difference right there. But anyways, I use this Yak Attack fish finder mount on this thing, which I sort of knew might not be the best idea for how big this screen is. From what I could read online, that when you're going to be using that kind of a mount with a screen this size, it's going to create a bit of a wobble in it. So anyways, as you can see, if I rock the kayak, the thing's rocking pretty good, especially compared to my Lowrance. The Lowrance more or less goes along with the kayak. The Garmin is wobbling a bit more. So I sort of wanted to try this out first to see how bad the wobble was. But yeah, I don't think I really like that. So probably going to return that mount and invest in something a little bit more robust. Okay, so I've been working on installing my Garmin fish finder. So what I did was I 3D printed this little box, which is going to be mounting what this piece that holds up the fish finder itself. So it's basically just a rectangular box with some support right there in the middle, and I designed it so there was a couple of holes in the bottom that I could run those Yak Attack bolts and nuts through. So yeah, that's just tightened down, and this is just the prototype made out of PLA. So this is not going to be the final solution by any means, but yeah, just wanted to prototype something, get it on here, attach everything, make sure it looks good, make sure that it's solid and that it's going to be able to withstand the weight. And yeah, so that's the prototype. So far I'm okay with it, but I'm going to finish actually screwing this down, attaching the the monitor, the head unit to that, and we'll see how that looks here in a bit. All right, got the prototype mount installed, got the Garmin on there, and yeah, as you can see, as I wobble it now, there's really no wobble in the unit. It goes with the Kayak. I can sort of like shake it back and forth a little bit, but even when I do that, the other fish finder's moving a little bit, as you can see. That's just because it's on that tri-track and that whole thing is moving. So that's never really been an issue, being out on the water. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to print off a full model of this, and I'll be using PETG material with thicker infill, just to make sure it's really solid. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that mount. So there you go. All right, just finished with the production model of the mount for my Garmin. So yeah, got that installed on there now, and sort of turned out okay. I did have some issues with the print, but in the end, it's still going to be a solid piece for the fish finder. So yeah, that's attached there. Just using those T-bolts to attach it to my tri-track up front here. And yeah, we're good to go. Okay guys, so I'm in the process of installing my Boondocks landing gear on my Jackson Knarr. So I basically got this thing spaced out, got it pretty well assembled, figured out where these holes line up with my tri-track. I do not like track mounting this thing, I guess the way that you normally would, which is just with track mounts that go right here. What I do is I figure out where those holes are going to line up on my tri-track, and then I remove the tri-track completely, and then I drill holes completely through that. That way, what I can do is I can take these 2.5-inch T-bolts by PowerTech, and that's going to go underneath the entire tri-track, and it's going to come up like that, and then you can just finish installing the landing gear like you normally would. So why do I do that? Well, now, if you installed it normally, you would have your T-bolt like there, and all the weight is going to be on the top of your track right here. If you put it underneath, that's going to spread the load out. Well, first it's going to be it's going to have the support of this entire bar, because it's going to be underneath this whole thing. So you get a whole lot more thickness than just the top of the track. But then, since it's basically going to be pulling weight on this entire track, it's going to spread that load out across the entire thing. And that's going to eliminate, all the issues that a lot of people have with these landing gears. Sometimes they track mount them on the top, and the top might break off. Sometimes they use like those plates on the inside, which are great, but usually they're not as long as this entire tri-track is, and that's really going to help spread the load out. I did this on my last kayak, and it's held up great for a couple of years. But yeah, if you guys are interested in installing the landing gear on your Knarr, then I suggest doing something similar to what I'm doing here. So yeah, I'm gonna finish. I still have to drill the holes on the other side, and then I'll finish up with this install. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the tri-track reinstalled there. And same on that side with those bolts coming through, and those are on there nice and tight now. So we'll take this guy, our actual landing gear, and get that lined up in those guys. One hand from the other side of the kayak, not going so well. There we go. Bring it over here, and we are in. Okay, so that's attached. Not fully attached. I'll finish screwing that guy down if I can find where I put the rest of those landing gear screws, and then I'll assemble the wheels, and then we should be all set. All right, there you have it. Landing gear completely screwed down, and wheels are assembled. So yeah, next time out in the water, just gotta pull these guys out, throw them in like so. Got my stand in the way right now, so I can't push it in all the way, but that's the idea. And yeah, makes loading and unloading the kayak super easy. Yeah, when you've got it on the ground, you just lift up on this handle, lift up half the kayak, slide one of the legs in, go to the other side, do the same thing. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the landing gear wheel install. All right, the ram ball that I was waiting on in the mail finally arrived. So got my live scope pole installed. This is the HD Innovations live scope pole. And yeah, that ram ball just connects to this ram transition arm, I guess you could say, to another ram adapter that actually attaches to the live scope pole right here, down to my transducer right there. I'm running my transducer wire just through the tri-track here. Got a little Yak Attack T-bolt and nut right there that's going to hold that in place. Goes down over here and then into the hull of the Kayak. I threw in my little 3D printed catchboard holder there and put my catchboard in there as well. And yeah, I got a little camera mount here that I made a while back, but really the only thing left on this boat is I'm going to add a Jackson Kayak multi-box here, but that has not arrived yet. So that'll be the last thing, but in the meantime, I'm pretty much good to go. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. Pretty soon I'm gonna film another video where I actually do a walkthrough of the entire setup, but yeah, that's it for the rigging process. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.